Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Call of the Night Season 1, Episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we open up with kind of Kyo Sumi before she showed up at Nazuna's. And, you know, it's kind of that complicated thing of she immediately gets out of the taxi because she's walking because she's like, I'd rather either be at home or I'd rather be back at the office working, because it's the whole, like, you know, having to go out, you know, after work and drink because she has to deal with, like, other people, coworkers, her boss. I mean, once again, it's just the nature of what the workforce is like in, you know, specifically in Asian countries. It's just a custom of you have to go out for drinking, because if you don't, it will poorly reflect upon you, because it kind of looks like, oh, you're not a team player, and it's part of the natural culture, and you just kind of have to submit to it, just accept it as is. But Kiyosumi's just kind of like, oh, I'm bored of it. It's like, oh, is this sexual harassment? She's just like, leave me alone. I don't want to have to deal with people. I'd rather just work. But that's the problem with, like, being an adult and having to work. You have to kind of work with people you might not want to. You just want to do your work. Or I just want the comfort of just being alone at home. I just want to break away from, like, being an adult. So obviously, we get a glimpse of when Nazuna met her and gave her the good old massage treatment. So she came there trying to get some of that tiredness away. And I didn't even think about this until they brought it up, because Nazuna brought it up last episode that Kiyosumi is 24, but I still never correlated thought about the fact is, oh yeah, right, Ko's only 14, so there's a massive 10-year difference in age. And she kind of almost looked like, wait, what? You're a middle schooler when she finds out? Because initially she kind of got nervous the moment Ko came in, because Ko came in full of confidence, like, yeah, we're going to get this done, let's do this. And he's coming all, like, trying to seem cool, and she's just like, did he have me wait all this time for him to come in now and start acting weird? She's like, I'm actually kind of getting nervous now. But it seems like he did an okay job, because the way her legs were moving later on seems like, all right, like, he picked up on what Nazuna had taught him about kind of finding those, like, pressure points. So probably wasn't as good as Nazuna would have done, but for being his first time gig, it's like, he even says, like, yo, this is my first time on the job. And he's kind of helping her to some extent, but it's like, oh, you're 14, why are you out and about? He's like, well, the reason I'm doing it is for the money. At least as he's justifying it, because he's trying to, you know, say inside of his head into the audience, like, hey, I'm not doing this for something perverted like Nazuna's kiss. He's like, no, I'm doing it for the money. First and foremost, he's paying her back, and so he does feel guilty of, you do spend a lot of money on me, especially because you did pay for the motel, so I want to pay you back, but also I want to have some cash on hand so I can continue to enjoy the nightlife too. I didn't really have to pay for too much, really, but now this little bit of this bit of pocket change, not pocket change, but like this amount of cash in my pocket can mean I get to enjoy my nightlife more. And that's something Kiyosumi and Ko end up connecting over, of like what the nightlife has kind of given them. Because Ko's like, yeah, like, I was the model student, I never kind of strayed outside of that, but then one day I just stopped going to school and I got all this energy, so I snuck out one day and just like looking at like the amazingness of just like what the city, like the place I walk every day just to see it in at nighttime. And for him, it's like he wants to enjoy the night, and that's what he's kind of doing this all for. And it struck a chord with Kiyosumi because she remembers 10 years ago doing the same thing, work, like being out at night, you know, middle school herself, buying like a pork bun from a convenience store. It's kind of like this moment was hers. It's like the enjoyment of, like, you could literally, like, especially this area, it's so quiet and there's so few cars, you could literally walk down the middle of the road without there being an issue. And so they're kind of enjoying like the aspects of the night that really resonate with them. Just for a little while, Kiyosumi kind of gets to block out the world and just kind of focus on like enjoying the nightlife and kind of escaping, you know, life. I mean, even though part of her life involves the nightlife because going out for drinks, but it's like you don't enjoy the real freedom. Like there's something suffocating about that, but you want to get to really enjoy the real freedom of the night. And Ko is, you know, doing the pressure points in her hand and having that conversation when reality kind of smacks her, because like, it's just kind of like the reality of just kind of like, right, like being an adult and just like the pressure with it and all you have to deal with. Then there's her boss calling her. It's like 2:00 in the morning and she doesn't want to go. She's literally breaking down because like the stress of it all. But Ko's like, oh, should I just let her go? Like, should I really interfere? He's like, I mean, the job's halfway done. Like, I won't get the money. But for him, it's like, no, it's not even about the money. He's like, I see so much of me and myself in her, like that feeling of being trapped. I don't want her to kind of suffocate from that and break down like she is. So he's like, hey, blocks the door. He's like, you're not going anywhere. You're going to sleep here tonight. We're going to finish this massage. And then he has Natsuna come up, which this is the first time we've seen, oh, you can literally phase through walls and doors. So I was like, I don't think we've ever noticed that. This is the first time I'm showcasing that ability. And he has no reaction because I guess maybe he's seen it before. But either way, it's like, Nazuna, keep her from leaving here. Like, I prevent her from going to work. And Nazuna's like, okay, grabs her and tosses her out the window. I'm like, why is that your solution to this? And she's falling, and they both jump out the window, and Ko, holding on to Nazuna, is like able to grab her and kind of takes her down gently to the street. And it's like, obviously it's not the resolution that they were probably looking for, but for Ko, it's like, I just didn't want you to go to work, because it's like, I know it was probably wrong, but the fact is that I didn't want that. You look like this was a lot for you, and I didn't want you to have to force yourself. And for her, it's just kind of this funny thing of like, this kid is, saying all this stuff to her, and he expresses to her like, I want to become a vampire. He's like, Zuna here, she's a vampire, and she's going to make me one. And when I become one, it's like, once again, I kind of have that freedom from everything that was kind of holding me back. And in that moment, she just kind of laughs, because for Kiyosumi, it's just like, really? That's your reason for wanting to be a vampire, just so you can, enjoy the night? But it is kind of like, right, it's easy to kind of have that perspective as a kid. Quitting school is one thing versus like, you don't really have that option as an adult, because it's like, you kind of have to work at places you kind of don't want to, because it's just like, well, you need to work to be able to pay just to live and exist and have comfortabilities. It's like, it's the, the different perspectives of like, a child's perspective on the world versus an adult's, which even Ko realizes like, right, I probably am naive at the end of the day, and I know it's naive, and I know I don't really have all the answers to like help you with your situation. But for him, it's like, even if I can help you a little bit, remember who you were 10 years ago, that what the night meant for you then, it kind of means for you now. So he's like, right, we can walk out in the middle of the road, and it's just kind of this nice moment, like I said, just for now, just kind of able to forget and just enjoy the moment. So she's like, yeah, but I will still end up going back to work. So Ko's like, if I do become a vampire, I promise I'll make you one. If you really need that escape when the time comes, I promise you I can make you a vampire. And I think she really needed that. It's kind of nice to know that promise exists, but I think there's probably also a part of her it's like, yeah, that's just the naivety of him as a kid being kind of like so dream bound and stuff. So he believes that, but like, there's probably some part of her that kind of would like that, but it's also like, right, that's not the world we live in. Even though like, well, life won't probably work out that way. And even Azuna's like, what that will mean, right? And it's like, well, yeah, I just have to make her fall in love with me. He's like, yeah, turns out I'm actually pretty good with girls. Girls kind of have a tendency to like me. And Azuna's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Him making that declaration, I think, did kind of get to her, maybe just a tiny bit, but yeah. Either way, the next part of the episode, they've got to figure out something to do to kind of have fun. And it's like, well, we could do this. No, I don't want to go to karaoke. Don't feel like doing that. We could do this. And it's like, arcade, no. And it's like, oh, we could go to like a nighttime swim pool. And she's like, actually, that's actually pretty dope. Let's get dressed. And so, obviously, Ko doesn't do well surrounded by people, but he looks at it. He's like, oh, it gives him another opportunity to see a part of the nightlife he's never really seen and experienced. There's people around, some sexy bikinis, which he's even like, what's Azuna going to wear? Because she really wears some pretty revealing stuff. But it ends up being like the reverse thing where it's like, oh, you're typically, I've seen you show off quite a bit of skin, but the more covered up you are, for some reason, there's something extra sexy about that, just because it's like, even he doesn't quite understand that. But then she gets invited over by some guys, because she goes to kind of buy some drinks, and some guys are kind of like hitting on her. It's like, oh, like, are you here alone? Because everyone's commenting on like how pretty she is, and and even, Ko was like, yeah, like vampires tend to have very attractive faces and stuff like that, because apparently what Nozuna said. And for whatever reason, Ko's like, why why is it, what is this? Like, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? And when those guys are getting all friendly with her, and she looks at him and teases by being like, oh yeah, my friend, he's not here or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, I mean, we're not really, this is our first time really like flirt. We don't really flirt often or, try to pick up and hit on girls. You got to give it a Ko. I wasn't expecting him to do anything, but he gets up, grabs Nozuna, and leaves. But I think you got to give it up to those dudes too. They were like, oh, so he was still here. And one of the guys was like, man, you got to be careful, dude. You can't just let your girl like walk around alone. And they both go like, yo, Gambate Shonen, like, good luck, kid. And I was like, that's actually really sweet. I'm like, oh, you guys are actually pretty dope. You're pretty grounded. Be like, yeah, man, like, because they were like, there's no way like anyone that came here with you would just leave you. You're so pretty. Like, there's no way anyone's just going to leave you alone for some jackal to come up and mess with you. And they figured as much. And they're like, oh man, next time be careful, kid. Don't just let someone like her just walk around on her own. And obviously, like, Ko was in a very soured mood. And even, Nazuna is apologizing because she's like, oh, I was just teasing you, But for him, it's like, doesn't do well with a lot of people around, but hearing all those people make comments about her and wanting to be friends with her so easily because he kind of struggles with that stuff, he's like, it bothered me. I didn't like hearing people like talk about you and want to be friends with you so easily like that. And she recognizes how messed up it was, so she's like, right, to make it up for him, it's like, right, let's actually go swimming, swoops him up into the air, and they go crashing down into the pool at his school. And it's kind of like this thing of, it was a bit scary. It freaked him out. I love the even slow motion of it, like right when he's about to hit the water, like his face is like inches away from the water. But he's like, yeah, it was scary. But she's like, yeah, but it was fun, right? And he's seeing like what she's wearing underneath, and it's just kind of, he's like, yeah, whatever. So, but for him, it's like, he's trying to figure out what it is he was feeling in that moment. Once again, it was jealousy. Like a lot of these emotions and stuff, and the self-discovery about himself in that regard is so new to him. So he was like, I was kind of wondering, should I ask Nazuna about like what this was, this feeling I was feeling? And like I said, I think it was jealousy. He is slowly but surely finding his way towards feelings for her. They're already there, but like he hasn't really been able to define them up until this moment, because once again, all this is new to him. So some very fascinating developments. I'm curious to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.